My name is Yuko, an alcoholic. Drew, thank you so much, and all the people who just put this meeting together. I really want to thank you, and it's an honor and privilege to be invited to this meeting. And I know Chris and Lisa and speaker host, and thank you so much. And I want to thank Nancy, who just came to pick me up. And she just took me around and she prepared a really nice picnic. And we had a picnic at the Rose Garden. So thank you so much. I love you, Nancy. And I don't know, some of you know Gigi. She she brought breakfast to my hotel this morning. So yeah, it was so sweet. I'm just really spoiled. You guys are spoiling me. Thank you so much. And I hope that nobody here heard me last night. I hope. Yeah? Okay. Anybody? Okay. Because you have to be so spiritual to hear the same speaker 2 nights in a row. You know, but Gigi said she just was gonna log on. She heard me yesterday. But okay, that's my self-obsession. So I really want to welcome you if you're new. And Debbie, I love you. Debbie's my hero. I mean, she's my A sister, and my really, I don't know what the word is for you. I just love you. I admire you. I respect you so much, and thank you so much for all your service you do. You're such an asset to this program, to all of us. So my sobriety date is November 20th, 1996. So I have 28 years, and my home group is the Pacific Group in Los Angeles, and my sponsor is Marilyn S., and she has 53 years. And so let's see. So I'm going to tell you about me. I was born and raised in Japan, and Japan was my problem. And I'm the fourth of 5 children. I guess looking back, my parents did their best, but I was just such a miserable kid. My dad, I was such a, dad's girl. But still, I mean, I have 4 siblings, but I thought I was, adopted. And I thought I looked, different from my siblings. But the truth is we all have the same face, but I was just, I was trying to convince myself I was different. I was a dysfunctional kid. My teacher would send me notes to my parents, saying, you got to do something about Yuko. And I never handed the notes to my parents. So they were just busy. So anyway, so my childhood was very boring, so I'm not going to get into it, but too much. But I was just really shy, painfully shy, very self-obsessed, and I knew that I was never going to be able to be like those girly girls, Japanese girls, like they're petite. I was always the tallest girl in my class and big hands and big feet, and I just knew I was different. So I acted differently. I just dressed like a boy and behaved like a boy, but at the same time, I couldn't really have any conversations with boys. I was super shy. So I got into sports for a little while, and then that just helped me. I really believe that I was born alcoholic, so I was born uncomfortable already in my own skin. And so fast forward, my first drinking episode, I'll tell you. So I was almost 18 and I went to this minor party. So high school kids in Japan are quite sheltered. We go wild when we go to college. So I was no exception. And then I went to this really minor party during the day. It's a small party. And somebody was like, hey, let's try alcohol. It was really innocent, like, see what's going to happen. So somebody brought a Suntory whiskey, and then people started trying, and then they were just coughing it up. And then that bottle came to me, and I started drinking it, and I just liked it instantly. And I have my water here. And the bottle didn't move from here. No, and I don't remember how much I drank, but I was the only person who got completely wasted. And I grabbed somebody's guitar and I started playing the guitar. I knew how to play the guitar, but I had never performed in front of anyone because I was really shy. But I just did it, and that felt so good. Next thing I did was I started telling everyone in front of me their character defects. For the first time in my life, that felt the best, you guys, the best, And then also the most important, not important, most embarrassing thing I did was I had a huge crush on this boy my entire high school years, and he was there. So I got on him, like I got on him, on top of him. And he was moving to Tokyo. We were in Nagoya, and he's going to Tokyo to go to college there. So he was leaving me. So I was like, please don't leave me. I love you. And he's like, who's this girl? And that was my very first drinking episode. And I absolutely fell in love with alcohol, you guys. Alcohol worked so beautifully for me. I was this really shy, just feeling so bad about myself and insecure, depressing, this dreary girl to this alcohol just transformed me into a completely different person. I became I felt powerful, I felt confident, and I still didn't feel like I was pretty or anything at all, but I didn't care. So I just didn't care. And you guys, I was so completely aware that I was going to keep drinking alcohol for the rest of my life until the day I die. I was so convinced and determined. And I knew that as long as I have alcohol right by my side, everything's going to be great. So that's how alcohol worked, how beautifully alcohol worked for me. So I went on to college and I became a party girl. I became a completely different person. People thought I was fun to be with, funny, smart, just completely the opposite of where I came from. And also I'm smooth with boys because they like me because I let them sleep with me. And yeah, like the alcoholic women, you understand that. So yeah, and then my first real sponsor, her name is Lindsay Jackson, and she passed away a couple of years ago, but she literally saved my life. And she was this beautiful blonde hair woman with blue eyes, and she was just in the middle of my home group and just shining, such a shining example. And I was like, I have nothing in common with that beautiful woman. But when I heard her share, she was like, I used to be a slut. And then I was like, me too, and so she became my sponsor, and so anyway, I was a slut, and so I became this crazy party girl, and I became a drummer in a rock band, and I have arrived, you guys, and it was so much fun, so much fun. I really had done lots of damage, which I was not aware. Sometimes, I was so crazy, people got just angry with me and they just stopped talking to me like, what's the big deal? My motto was like, I do whatever I want to do. You do whatever I want you to do. If you don't like it, you're out of my life. And that was my motto. And that's exactly how I lived, And so I had so much fun in my college years. And then I was really a tornado, really. And I did have a couple girlfriends who were trying to help me. And some Al-Anon friends, and they would hide me from my boyfriends because I was just, cheating on my boyfriends, stuff like that. I was never faithful to anyone, ever, and but today, actually, I've been married since year 2000. And I've been faithful to my husband for how many years? 20 something years, right? So that's really a miracle of AA, really. And I love the fact that it's only in AA we can brag about being faithful to your spouse. So anyway, so back then I was just so crazy, and then I loved my life. I love you. I love you. I love me. I love my life. I loved everything because that's what alcohol did for me. And so fast forward, I graduated from college, not in a proper way, and then I started working for a musical instrument company because I'm a musician. And then I met him, and I fell in love with him because he had a curly hair. Like I mean, it's really unusual for a Japanese guy to have a curly hair. Naturally, it wasn't a perm hair. So like, wow, he's so cool, you know. So I don't call it like a dating. He was one of the people I was sleeping with, but we were more committed to each other, I should say. We were in the same band and just playing music together. And so one day he said, "Hey, Yuko, I need to talk to you." And I hate when people say I need to talk to you. So I'm like, "Oh, okay, what is it?" And he's like, "I'm moving to America." So like, oh, shoot, I have to find a new boyfriend. But thank God I didn't say anything. Next thing he said was, "Let's get married and move to America." So like, yes, that sounds awesome. So I told my parents, my friends, like, I'm getting married and moving to America. And they're like, who is this guy? You know, so like, yeah, he's the one. So yeah, so we got married. We had a typical alcoholic wedding, you know, not like a typical traditional Japanese wedding where the groom is forced to drink. Alcohol is huge, you know, like alcohol is a huge part of our culture. But I probably won't have time to get into it, but later I always run out of time. But I've been helping, carrying the message to Japan, and they're helping me for the last 5 years. I got connected to AA in Japan, you know, during the pandemic, and Nancy's the secretary of this bilingual meeting right now, and Debbie has spoken for me in Tokyo in person, and she has spoken for me on Zoom meetings many, many times. And my sponsor, Marilyn, and just so many of my friends here in the States have spoken for Japan. And so I probably won't, again, I don't have much time. Japan, like people in Japan, our culture is like, we drink. We drink, you know, we drink. And if you're unable to drink, we don't care. Just drink. You have to drink, you know. And then I heard somebody share one time, he was not Japanese, he was from here. And he was describing how he would not surrender towards the end of his drinking. And he described like, it's like Japan towards the end of the World War II. You know, we just don't surrender, you guys. We just don't. We would rather die than, you know, surrendering. So that's really our culture. That's the beauty, whatever, like, you know, we just kill ourselves, you know. So anyway, so people don't surrender. AA in Japan is tiny, you guys, tiny. It just doesn't grow like it did here. Anyway, what was I talking about? Like, oh, thank you. So, okay, so my wedding, thank you, Nancy. So so the groom is forced to drink. You have to drink and pass out, puke, that's good. But the bride, if you're the bride, you have to be in a beautiful wedding gown or kimono, white kimono, and just be, you know, pretty, sit still, you know, but that's not what I did. So it's my wedding, so I just drank so much. It's my wedding, you know, I forced people to drink, and we're just drinking, and they're puking, I'm puking. And towards the end of the night, I was in and out of blackout, and I was all over some guy who was not my husband. And we got busted. And then this guy I was all over, and my husband's best friend who busted us, they got into a fight. And I vaguely remember like, stop fighting, don't ruin my wedding, you know. And then the next morning I came to, and my new husband, I'm sure he heard or he knew what happened, but he didn't give me a tough time. It's like, yes, he's my guy, you know. So I thought he was going to tell me like, forget about this marriage, but he did. It's like, yes. So we moved to the States, and then we started our new life in the States, in Los Angeles. But something tragic happened the very first day, you guys. We started a new life in another country. He told me to stop drinking. Yeah, you understand how devastating that was for me, because I left everything behind and moved all the way, across the Pacific Ocean to drink. and to party with you guys. So I couldn't believe it. I would have left him right then, but I couldn't speak English, and I told everybody everything's gonna be all great. So I just couldn't go right back. I couldn't, so I decided to use him for a while until I would get settled, and that's exactly what I did. And it was really ugly. Our marriage, we were just fighting all the time. I was, drinking behind his back. I would throw away all the empty cans and bottles before he would come home, and it was really, really a sad time. But alcohol was my best friend again. I couldn't have gone through that tough time without alcohol. And so fast forward, I left him when he was on a business trip one day. Because I found some other guy who was fluent in Japanese. So like, yes, I have him. So I don't need my husband. So I left him when he was on a business trip, and I moved in with another guy, a different guy, because I thought he was real. I could trouble him because he would buy me acai super dry. So nice, So I moved in with this nice not boyfriend, roommate. And but what happened was, within a couple of months, he ended up taking my money and he disappeared, and I became homeless actually. So during that time, things were going in a wrong direction, and I was so confused, you guys. I got rid of this guy, right, who's trying to control my drinking. So so I started partying again. I started going to nightclubs and drinking, partying, and I started sleeping with a bunch of guys again. And I was 31, but thanks to this Asian genes, I looked much younger. So I would sleep with I was 31, and I would hang out with like boys like 18, 19, 20. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm sorry. So I'm making amends to like men in general, seriously, because I had no respect for men. I'm so sorry. Seriously, I mean it. I did not know that you guys have feelings. I would use you guys to make myself feel okay, but even though I was doing everything I had been waiting to do, and after I got rid of that guy, I went into a major depression. I was fast forward, it took a little while, but then after partying hard, I was like, how come I'm not happy? What's going on? And of course, like alcohol stopped working for me because I'm an alcoholic, and I just did not know that. So I kept drinking, and I started isolating myself. I became homeless, I said, but then I found a tiny bachelor apartment in Venice. And then I confined myself in that small apartment, and I just was drinking myself to death. In the meantime, I'm a responsible Japanese. So I got myself a job, and I started teaching at a little Japanese school in Palos Verdes. So so I was working, but other than that, I was drinking myself to death, and I just could not control my drinking. Again, I was in denial. So my boss at the little job, Peggy, she really wanted to help me. She was really my Al-Anon, and she would pull me aside and she would say, Yuko, do you think you have a drinking problem? I'm sure I was always hangover. I always smelled like alcohol. And I started missing work, which was a big no-no for a Japanese person like me. We are hardworking, super responsible, and we don't miss work, no matter how hangover we are. But I started missing work, so that's a problem. But I was still in denial. So Peggy would pull me aside, like, Yuko, you have to get yourself together. Just get your life together. Otherwise, they're going to let you go. And I was like, what? Like, they're going to let me go? Oh my gosh, they're lucky to have me. I'm overqualified for this position. That's how my attitude was. And then Peggy was like, Yuko, Ginny. Ginny was a substitute teacher at that little school. Ginny was Peggy's best friend. And she would hand me this little piece of paper. This is Ginny's phone number. Ginny is in AA. And if you ever want to go to an Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, she will be happy to take you there. And I have no clue what AA was about, but it's called Alcoholics Anonymous, so it's for alcoholics. So I was like, are you implying that I'm an alcoholic? I was so highly, highly, highly offended because I cannot be an alcoholic because I'm Japanese. So I ignored her advice. And then what happened fast forward was like on my 32nd birthday, I'm a strong-willed person, so I try to drink less. But again, in retrospect, I completely lost choice. And I was in denial. And because I knew that I had gotten rid of all my alcohol in my apartment, because like, I'm gonna get sober or I'm not gonna drink. And so, but every morning, like it was a Groundhog Day, my alarm would go off and this brand new day ahead of me, and I just couldn't take it. I just couldn't take it, you guys. I'm aware. I'm alert, I'm sober, and I couldn't take it. But my kids are waiting, so I would get on PCH and I would go to work and feeling devastated. I would show up with hangover, finish my day barely, during the recess, I would go to the bathroom and just puke. And my day's over, so I have to go back home, I was in so much fear, you guys. I would have to get back on PCH, going back to West Los Angeles, and I was just feeling devastated because I knew that I would have to go to the liquor store because I didn't have alcohol in my house. And I just, so I was, I wouldn't have admitted it, but I really, was a slave to alcohol, and I became really suicidal. And so my 32nd birthday, I was sober, according to me, and then I was a nightmare to all the guys I was using, so they just left me. They were disgusted by me, and so I was all alone, you guys. It felt like I was the loneliest creature in this entire world. And so my birthday came. I was self-pity. And I was like, I deserve 2 beers. I'm sober, 2 beers, just discount. So I went to this sports bar across the street from my apartment complex, and I tried to kill myself that night. And then 4 police officers came to my apartment because my therapist called the police, and then I was handcuffed and just sent to a psychiatric emergency room at Harvard UCLA. And that was really, for me, like a pitiful and incomprehensive demoralization. And I'm like, I don't belong here. I'm not crazy. I'm Japanese, So next morning, I was like, this is a mistake. I'm not going to kill myself. So just let me go. And then they called my psychiatrist and all that. And then they said, okay, call somebody. So I called Peggy, Peggy. Of course, I couldn't call any of my drinking friends. And she came right away, and she picked me up. But she brought Ginny. Yeah, who was in AA. And Peggy asked me 100 questions, which I was so annoying, and I couldn't take it, and she gave me that look you're all familiar with, and she was just confused, like, what happened to you, Yuko? You're such a good girl. And all I thought about was like, why am I still alive? And on the other hand, Ginny just hugged me and she said, Yuko, it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And I cried in her arms because I knew somehow she knew how I felt. And she really told me by her kindness and by her example, she was an attraction of this program. And she didn't promote this program. So I was like, because she was kind, I decided to try AA. But the first couple of months, you guys, I just couldn't admit, I just couldn't surrender. Again, I'm Japanese, like, I'm gonna kill myself. I'm not an alcoholic. But so that's why, if I really, really, really want to welcome you. If you're willing to identify yourself as a newcomer, welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. If you're trying to figure out, welcome to Alcoholics Anonymous. You're in the right place. That was my first step. I couldn't admit that I was an alcoholic. And so fast forward, this sweet sponsor of mine who volunteered to sponsor me, she just gave up on me. Just, you can't stay sober. I don't know what to do with you. And she sentenced me to the Pacific group in Los Angeles. And they're like, what's a Pacific group? She's like, you'll find out, And then so I went to the Pacific group Thursday night keep, and my life changed. My life started changing. And so first of all, I hated that meeting. I hated that group. I just couldn't stand those people. They were so happy. And in that group, even if you're just trying to hide behind whatever curtains, they will find you. They will find you and just pull you out and like, hi, and so So the first time I couldn't raise my hand as a newcomer, but I heard this woman from Lithuania and I heard her and I got hooked. That was the very, very first time I really identified. And I thought maybe. And then, but I didn't go to meetings anymore, and then I got drunk again. I went back to the key group next Thursday. I mean, I couldn't believe that I went back there because I hated that meeting. And two people remembered me from the week before, two women, and they cornered me really, like, so how much time do you have? And I was like, 3 days, like, oh, so you drank. Like, it's none of your business, so. And then the meeting started, and then this guy, Roy A, he's actually a Japanese American, so he's not real Japanese. So he was the leader, and the first 30 minutes is a participation. So I was sitting all the way back, and he called on me, Yuko-san, come on, Yuko-san, like, what? And like, no, it's not me. I'm not going to getting up. But then people are like, I think it's you. There's no other Japanese. So I slowly went up, and then I said, Yuko, an alcoholic, and hi Yuko, and then I said, okay, I guess I should talk about drinking. So, well, 3 days ago I accidentally drank, and people just cracked up, and then and then I puked on my bathroom floor, and I missed work, and I got fired, and people went nuts, you guys, and I was so confused, so confused, and then. During the break, the entire room just came to me and Yuko, good job. Welcome to AA and keep coming back. And women gave me just pieces of paper with their phone numbers, which I threw away all of them. But that group really saved my life, you guys. And then I got in the middle of it and somebody pushed me to Lindsay J, as I mentioned, and then she was so scary, you guys. So I had to do everything she told me to do. Not that I had to, but I felt like she was forcing me. But I did it, I had the gift of desperation, but I was like, she's making me. I was just bitching and moaning, and sometimes I was, during the 10-minute coffee break, I would be smoking outside mild 7 cigarettes, Japanese cigarettes, and people would come to me. And then I pretended that I couldn't speak English so that I didn't have to do things, and that's how I was. But soon enough, they found out I could speak a little English. In fact, I was teaching English at the time. So anyway, and then they would not leave me alone, you guys. I was a quiet, crazy newcomer, but I started doing everything that group offered. I went to 7 meetings a week and I just had 7 commitments. There's this thing called the yard, every Saturday at Clancy's backyard, and the women play volleyball and men play softball. I hated everything about that group, but that was the most hideous event ever. And I was made to go there every single Saturday. And alcoholic women are so intense and crazy, and then I would go to, Monday Night Ohio. I mean, I had a job. I got fired, but I got a few other jobs. And then so I had a job, I had to work. I was in debt, of course. And then after Monday Night Ohio, Sunday Night Ohio, just those women are like, do you want to go to coffee? I'm like, coffee, it's 9:30 p.m. Why do you go to coffee? I'm like, okay, because I just couldn't say no. And I would go to coffee and with those crazy women, and they were so kind to me, and they let me bitch and moan, and then I just couldn't take it anymore. So I called Lindsay and Lindsay, listen, I am such a people pleaser. I can never say no, and that's how I am. I'm Japanese, so. But I can't go to coffee anymore. I just need some rest, and so that I can function well next day. I don't want to go to coffee. And then she said, okay, well, you keep going to coffee with those crazy women until you wanna go to coffee with them. Click. No, she doesn't get it. She doesn't get it. So I was like, okay. So I just kept going, and she got me through the steps, and You guys, so I was sitting in the very back row, and then I just moved up, and then my head was so loud, so loud. And back then in 1996, there were so many incredible speakers. Our group is just so spoiled when it comes to speakers. And then, but my head was so loud. For 35 minutes, I had a conversation in my head. I did not hear the message at all. The only time I felt okay was after the meeting when I was doing my cleanup commitment. That's the only time I felt okay. And people like keep coming back. And I was an atheist, you guys. And Lindsay told me to get down on my knees and pray. And I felt really lame and embarrassed about it. And I mean, I would go to the Tuesday book study, and whenever we read the agnostics chapter, and people share about higher power, when it's my time to share, I was like, I am an atheist. I don't believe in God. I don't even want to, believe in God or higher power at all. And then, whenever I hear the word God, I feel like puking. Ugh, that was my attitude, really. And then people are like, keep coming back, Yuko. They were so kind to me. They didn't kick me out just because I'm Japanese or I'm an atheist. And then like one lady's like, Yuko, I have a great idea. You can borrow my God. And I said, no, thank you. I don't want to hear God. That was the type of attitude I had. And one day I was doing everything Lindsay told me to do. And then I was on my knees, and I just said to God, like, God, if you're there, you've got to help me, because A is not working. I'm doing everything Lindsay's suggesting, and A is not working. My life is unbearable. I cannot take this anymore. If you're there, dude, you've got to help me. And all of a sudden I called myself, oh my gosh, shoot, I'm talking to my God. And I was like, that's how I found my higher power, you guys. And so, I kept really busy, and I made all my amends. And my first year, I was I was one of the most active members, because I was so intense. I had to. I'm probably sicker than others, and so we have this thing called a watch. At midnight, we go to this Gnome's restaurant in Santa Monica and watch the birthday person turn 1 at midnight, and we do a countdown. So I had my watch, and I did not think that anybody would show up for my watch. It was a Wednesday night, our home group night. And then, I don't know, a couple hundred people showed up. I just couldn't believe it. And people like, Yuko, congrats. And like, they know my name, and I just couldn't believe it. And then I started sobbing, you guys, at the watch, sobbing, not even close to midnight. I just started sobbing, and Lynn's like, what's wrong, Yuko? Are you okay? Because I was crying painfully. And I said to her, I just can't take this. I can't take this. I'm too happy. And she's like, it's okay, And so I had my watch, and at midnight, I was ready to be in a relationship, because Nancy didn't, I told you I was a slut, so, and I was single in my first year. Again, that's a miracle of AA. So I'm like, okay, I thought there was a line in the parking lot of the Gnome's restaurant, to ask me out after my watch. But okay, there's no line. Okay, maybe they're just giving me some space. And then 1 week passed, 2 weeks passed, and then nobody. So I was just so angry with my higher power this time, and then, but I was crying at the Way of Life meeting, and Lindsay told me, Yuko, you have to get rid of your old ideas. Men don't fix you. Men don't fix your alcoholism. But I'm like, but I've done so much, is this what I deserve, And she said, like, Yuko, you have to find a way to be happy, because God loves you and God wants you to be happy. And I cried harder, but that's exactly what I needed to hear. And then I got even busier in my second year, and I started sponsoring people. I never volunteered to sponsor people, but somehow people started asking me, like, me? Really? I don't even speak English, So, but I got lots of, privilege, and and I got busier, and I got into love and service. Okay, this is it. And that's when I met my real him, and Keith is my now husband. And So he started treating me like I was a princess or something. I was really uncomfortable and I was going to dump him before he would find out who I was. But so I talked to Lindsay and she was like, just enjoy it, God damn it. Those are the exact words she told me. And I was like, okay, well, I guess it's okay. It's okay. And so so we got engaged and then we got married. We had a big open wedding and, and then I got pregnant and, okay, I can talk to you a little bit about, okay, 5 minutes, thank you. So my first wedding, I had only two weddings, that's not very many for alcoholic women, right? Well, some people like get engaged 10 times and never get married or like many times. So I got married only twice. And so my first wedding, drinking, I, my dad came and I was punishing him. So I sent him home. And later on, he told me that that day when he, on his way home, when I sent him home, he felt the most like emptiest, and he told me that. And now I have 3 years sober, and I'm getting married and just marrying the man of my dreams. And I invited my dad. He chose not to come. And Lindsay said, you have to be okay with it. Don't you ever make him feel guilty or, make him feel obligated. And that's exactly what I did. I took a bunch of pictures and sent them to him. It turned out that my brother told my parents not to come to my wedding. And that's that's the consequences I created, because of my drinking. So my brother reluctantly flew from Chicago. And then he saw what's going on with me and he fell in love and he actually ended up moving to California a year later. So because my people treated him so well. And later after that, he wrote a letter to my parents saying, you guys don't have to worry about Yuko anymore. Keith is a wonderful guy. She's in a great place and she's doing so well. And he confessed to me later that I'm the one who told our parents not to come. And he and I have the best relationship. My parents both passed away. I got to wrap it up. But let me tell you about my parents. My dad passed away 11 years ago. My mom 6 years ago. And I was able to make just the best living amends. I'm one of those luckiest people. I know that doesn't happen to everybody, but I'm really, really lucky. And I became a daddy's girl again, and he got his, daughter back. And I adored my dad. My mom was a very difficult person, though, but I learned to adore her again, because of the steps. And so my dad passed away. Thank you. And she was devastated. And I kept going back and forth, so many times, you guys. I was back and forth between Japan and LA. And finally, towards the end, my mom got cancer. And then, towards the end, I was in and out, exhausted. It was exhausting because I was raising two young kids. And then finally, okay, I have to go there one more time. And then, so last time I saw her alive, I went back there again and just 1 week or something. And then I got there, my flight got delayed. So I thought I could see her that same day, but I got there really late. So I called her, I'm sorry, I'm gonna sleep in your house tonight. I'll come see you tomorrow morning first thing. She said, no, come tonight. Doesn't matter how late. I told the people in the facility. So okay, I'll come. So I went there probably 11 p.m. And people were like, you have to, let me in because it's so late. And they're like, welcome. Your mom has been waiting all day long. And then I went to her room and I just opened the door. And so the thing is, Japanese people don't hug each other. We just don't. And I started hugging her after I got sober, and she was like, just really, stiff, but every time of course, I just didn't care, just kept hugging her. And so that night I opened her door, and then she was this tiny little thing, just bones and skin. And she was laying in bed, and she extended her arms to me. And I said, I'm home, because where my mom was, my home. And I just ran to her and I hugged her. And then she said, thank you so much for coming all the way from America to just give me this hug. And that was the last time I saw her the visit, and that's, that the hug was the only thing AA had given to me. I would have been overpaid, and then I went back, and then I was going to go back one more time. I'll wrap it up, sorry. And I got a call from my sister, so I booked my flight again. Like a couple hours later, I was just packing. I called Lindsay and I said, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. And she said, Yuko, you've made it many, many times. And sure enough, she died when I was flying. But I just don't have any regrets. And that's just one of the best gifts of sobriety in this program. So thank you so much for my life. And thank you for having me here. Thank you.